I'm Christopher, and you're watching The Photo Department. This is an interesting episode because it's the first episode that I'm reviewing or talking about a camera that I no longer own. That camera is in a box on its way back to Virginia, I think. Sadly, it's broken. But first, I'm getting back into drinking coffee a lot, which I like. I like coffee. Today I'm drinking my favorite coffee, which is the Heart Stereo Blend. The first time I had the Heart Stereo Blend, it was 2 Guatemalan coffees, but this time it's an Ethiopian and a Guatemalan coffee, half and half. It's a blend, obviously. It's really great. I'm drinking it out of my new Heath mug. I got the Contax G1 a couple months ago after a friend of mine let me borrow hers, and I fell in love with it. So I picked up a body for a really good price in really great condition, and I bought a 45mm lens for it, also in amazing condition. I got a really good deal on both the body and the lens, and I was really excited. I shot a lot with it as soon as I got it, and everything I shot with it was amazing. Problems with the camera started pretty much immediately. The camera was skipping frames, and what I mean by that is on a roll of film there would be 2 or 3 frames that were completely blank, and at first I thought this was my fault, like I was overexposing, or I had the wrong setting, or I had the lens cap on. So I was really careful about checking my settings since then, and the problem only got worse. 2 weekends ago I was shooting a wedding in LA. When I processed the roll, 14 of the 36 exposures were completely blank, which means that the shutter just wasn't firing. I knew that this was an issue while I was shooting, because if I would shoot a frame and I heard the shutter go off and it film advanced, normally I knew it would take a picture, but there were times where I would hear what sounded like the shutter going off, but like way more muffled, and then the film advancing. It just sounded like the shutter didn't fire, or didn't fire properly. As much as I love that camera and I wanted to keep it, I can't use it if it's going to be skipping frames and the shutter's not working properly. I bought that camera for less than $200, and it's going to cost $290 plus to get it repaired by the one place that repairs Contax cameras. Sadly, I had to let it go. So it's going back to the guy I bought it from. He was gracious enough to offer me my money back in exchange for the camera, so I'm sending it back to him. The lens is boxed up down there right now. It's going to go out to someone, whoever buys it. I'm sad. I love rangefinder style cameras. Obviously, I use the X Pro 2, and I love that form factor, and the Contax G1 is pretty much the same. I feel like Fujifilm took a lot of cues from the G series when they designed the X Pro 2 and the X Pro 1, which I think is pretty cool. And that camera is really fun to shoot, like incredibly fun to shoot. So the stuff that I did get to shoot with it, I really love all of it. That picture back there was shot with that camera. 45mm f2 is incredibly sharp, and the color rendering, the detail, just the way it renders the images is gorgeous. It's a great lens, and if anyone is considering getting into the Contax G series, I would say go for it, just because of their lenses. They're incredible. So I did have to return the camera because I can't afford to get it repaired right now, which is a bummer. But that being said, I will be buying another G1 in the future, maybe a G2. I don't think that the extra money is justified for the G2. If I really wanted the 35mm f2, which I don't, if I was going to shoot anything other than the 45 on that camera, it would be the 28 anyways. So, yeah. So the main things I liked about that camera was the meter was very accurate. All of the stuff that I shot, I went right off the meter, and it went great. I never had any over or underexposed frames. It was dead on. The handling is really great ergonomically. It felt really nice in my hand, especially if you're used to rangefinder style cameras. It's going to feel right at home. The lenses are the best lenses I think I've ever used, other than Fuji lenses. They just have this really great look to them. Zeiss, I mean, they're Zeiss, what can I say? The autofocus, which people talk down on a lot. People say that the G2 autofocus is way better. Honestly, I've never shot a G2, so I can't compare, but the G1 autofocus has yet to let me down. I've shot really dark live concerts like that one, weddings, all sorts of lighting conditions, and the autofocus handled as good as you can expect any camera's autofocus to handle. Maybe not as good as the Canon dual pixel or the Sony's autofocus, but pretty damn good. I was really impressed with it. This concert in particular, which I'll show you all the images from in a moment, was very, very dark, and so was another concert that I shot. So there are two very dark concerts where the autofocus was able to lock on to exactly what I was aiming at and be in focus, which is pretty incredible. Another cool feature is the ability to change the ISO of the film that you're shooting, basically forcing the camera to shoot at a different ISO other than what the DX code states. So I was able to push the JCH Street Pan up to 3200 for one of these shoots, and it performed really well. I shot some color Fuji film pretty high. I pushed some 800 to 3200, I think. Worked really well. The controls in that camera are very similar to a lot of other rangefinder style cameras, especially the X Pro 2, so I instantly felt at home with it. It was very, very easy to use and handle. So the main thing that kind of bugged me was the viewfinder size. It's pretty small and can be pretty dark in some situations. For the most part, it wasn't that big of a deal. I was able to deal with it, but I definitely would prefer a larger viewfinder, especially with glasses. Also, the points at which the strap lugs are mounted to the camera, stupid. They're too far forward, so if you put your camera on the strap lugs, you put it on your neck, it like tilts back, and it's like not that comfortable to like walk around with your camera that way. So that's obnoxious. But other than those two things, this camera is highly intoxicating to shoot with. I will say that when shooting work, the Contax G1 might have edged out my Nikon F2 if it weren't for that damn frame skipping and small viewfinder. Other than that, I would say it's probably tied for my favorite 35mm camera so far with my Nikon F2, and that's a camera that I regard very highly. So take that as you will, I guess. I don't know. Another thing that people seem to complain about or not like that much is the TLA 140 flash. I'm borrowing this from the guys at Glasskey. This flash is really great. So if you are looking for a Contax flash and you can't find the TLA 200 because they're super expensive or they're just not a lot out there for sale, and you see a TLA 140, I would snatch it up. It's a really great flash. It's super compact and tiny. I think it runs on one of those. Yeah, it runs on one of these CR123A batteries. I almost just dropped my coffee. So here's some photos I shot with the Contax G1 at the Great American Music Hall, shooting one of my favorite bands of all time, Toe. I'll put a link to their stuff in the description. This was with the JCH Street Pan 400 at 3200 ISO. So I've already shown these pictures in the last video, but I thought that this was relevant for this video too, so I'll show you some of my favorites from shooting my friend's band Wander at August Hall in San Francisco. This was JCH Street Pan 400 also, but shot at 1600. Okay, thanks for watching. I have obviously been reviewing a lot of Contax cameras thanks to Glasskey Photo, who have been letting me borrow cameras to use and do little reviews on. So thank you to Glasskey Photo. Make sure you check them out. The next camera I have to review is the Contax AX, which is over there. I haven't had a chance to shoot with it yet because it's a beast, but that'll be coming up soon, and then I'll be done reviewing Contax cameras for a while. I think, pretty sure. I don't think there's any more Contax cameras I'm going to be coming across anytime soon. But thanks for watching. Follow me on Instagram at Christopher Sturm on Instagram. You can follow the photo department at the photo department _ on Twitter. Drink more coffee out of fancy, expensive ceramic cups. Mugs. Sorry, this is a mug. Goodbye.